My wife became a doctor and betrayed me by filing for divorce that very day. I signed without argument and vanished completely. The auditorium smelled like fresh paint and ambition. 200 new oncologists getting their white coats, and I sat there watching my wife become one of them. Dr. Veronica Clara Reeves. 8 years of marriage. And this was supposed to be our moment, our victory. She looked radiant up there, composed, professional. Everything she'd worked for crystallizing into this single ceremony. I sat in the third row between her mother and her sister, both of them recording every second on their phones. Her father kept leaning over to pat my shoulder, whispering about how proud we all must be. I was the only one not filming. The dean called her name. She walked across that stage with the same precision she brought to everything. Measured steps, perfect posture, and that practiced smile she'd refined in the mirror every morning for weeks. They placed the white coat on her shoulders and the audience erupted. Her family screamed her name. Other residents whistled. I clapped, steady, controlled. 8 years. That's how long I'd been funding this dream. Not just financially, though. Between her student loans and my income as an IP attorney, I'd essentially bankrolled her entire medical education. I'm talking about the other currency. The nights I ate dinner alone while she studied. The vacations we never took. The wedding anniversary she forgot because it fell during her boards. I'd made senior partner at Brennan & Associates 2 years ago. Turned down a position at a larger firm because it would have meant relocating during her residency. My colleagues thought I was insane passing up that opportunity. She's lucky to have you, they'd say. Veronica never used the word lucky. During her acceptance speech, she thanked her mentors, her fellow residents, the nursing staff who'd guided her, her family for their endless support, the hospital administration for believing in her potential. My name came up. Her sister nudged me. She's probably just nervous. You know, she appreciates everything. I nodded, kept clapping. After the ceremony, everyone gathered in the reception hall. Champagne and small talk. Veronica worked the room like a politician, shaking hands with department heads, laughing at their jokes. I stood by the drinks table, watching her navigate through clusters of people. She had this way of tilting her head when someone important spoke, like their words were reshaping her understanding of the universe. Dr. Philip Lawson, head of oncology, kept his hand on her lower back as he introduced her to board members. Professional mentorship, she'd called it. I watched that hand, watched how she leaned into it. Grant. Her mother appeared beside me. Isn't this wonderful? All those years of sacrifice finally paying off. All those years, I repeated. You must be so proud. Supporting her through all of this. Not many men would be so understanding. Understanding? That's what they called it when you funded someone else's dreams while they treated you like furniture. Reliable, functional, easy to ignore until needed. The reception wound down around 4. Veronica found me by the exit, her white coat still pristine, not a wrinkle in sight. Ready? She asked. Where's your family? They're heading to dinner at Bernardo's. I told them we'd meet them there. We walked to the parking garage in silence. Her heels clicked against the concrete, echoing in the empty space. When we reached our cars, we'd driven separately since she'd had to arrive early. She stopped at her BMW, the one I'd bought her when she finished residency. Actually, she said, reaching into her coat pocket, we need to make a quick stop first. Where? The courthouse. I knew what was coming. Had known for weeks. But I played the part, furrowing my brow just enough to sell confusion without overselling shock. The courthouse closes at 5, I said. Not for filing. She pulled out a manila envelope. I had my attorney prepare these. There it was. The envelope I'd known about since her lawyer's assistant had accidentally CC'd me on an email 6 weeks ago. Amazing how one mistyped email address can change everything. Divorce papers. I kept my voice level. Curious, not crushed. Grant. She used her doctor voice. Clinical detached. We both know this hasn't been working. I'm entering a new phase of my career. I need to focus on my research. My patients. The next 5 years are critical for establishing myself. And I'm what? A distraction. That's not fair. 8 years. Veronica. I know how long we've been married. No. 8 years of me paying for everything. 8 years of me sleeping alone while you studied. 8 years of nobody asked you to do those things. There it was. The destroying shot she thought would devastate me. The revelation that my sacrifice meant nothing to her had never meant anything. She expected tears, maybe begging. At minimum, some kind of emotional explosion she could use to paint me as unstable. I took the envelope, opened it, scanned the first page. You're seeking alimony. I almost laughed. My attorney says I'm entitled to maintain the lifestyle I've grown accustomed to, the lifestyle I provided. Grant, please. Let's not make this uglier than it needs to be. Just sign the papers. We can file today. Get the process started. Clean break. Clean break. Like a surgical incision. Minimal scarring. I pulled out my pen. The Mont Blanc she'd given me for our 5th anniversary back when she still pretended to care. I signed every flagged page. Dated them. Handed them back. She blinked. That's it. What did you expect? I thought I mean most people would want to read them first. Maybe consult an attorney. I trust you, Veronica, you've always known exactly what you wanted. Something flickered across her face. Not quite suspicion, but close. She'd prepared for a fight, rehearsed her arguments. My compliance threw her off script. The house, she started, is yours until the divorce is finalized. My attorney said you might contest. I won't. She studied me for the first time in months, really looked at me, not through me or past me, but at me like she was seeing something she'd missed. Why are you being so cooperative? Because fighting would be pointless. You've made your decision. You made it long before today. I gestured to her white coat. This was always the plan, wasn't it? Get through medical school, establish yourself, then remove the dead weight. That's not. It's fine, Veronica. Really, I hope you get everything you want. She clutched the papers against her chest, white coat bright under the fluorescent lights. We should still go to dinner with my family to avoid questions. You go tell them I had an emergency at work. Grant, congratulations, doctor. You've earned this. I walked to my Tesla, leaving her standing there with her divorce papers and her white coat and her carefully orchestrated future. She had no idea that her attorney's assistant had sent me more than just that first email. No idea I'd been documenting everything, building my own case while she built hers. She'd thought she was the genius here, the brilliant oncologist who'd outmaneuvered her boring attorney husband. But intelligence without integrity is just sophisticated stupidity. And Veronica, for all her academic achievements, had made one critical mistake. She'd assumed I was as naive as I'd let her believe. I drove home to our empty house. Her house now, technically, though she wouldn't be keeping it as long as she thought. I went to my office, locked the door, and opened the safe hidden behind the bookshelf. Inside were 6 weeks' worth of evidence, printed emails, notarized documents, flash drives with backed up files, everything I'd found while pretending to be the supportive husband. She thought she'd blindsided me. She had no idea I'd been preparing for this moment for 6 weeks. 6 weeks before that white coat ceremony, before the divorce papers, before everything fell apart, I was trying to be a good husband. Veronica had asked me to help organize her research papers for her final presentation. You're so good with documents, she'd said, barely looking up from her laptop. Everything needs to be perfect for the review board. I should have known something was off when she actually asked for my help. She usually treated my work like it was beneath her. Intellectual property law wasn't saving lives after all, just protecting ideas, making rich companies richer. Not noble enough for someone who'd devoted herself to oncology. But there I was on a Saturday morning sitting in her home office sorting through stacks of publications, patient studies, and research notes. She was at the hospital. Of course, Saturday was just another workday in Veronica's world. The first red flag was small. So small I almost missed it. A publication date that didn't line up. Her CV listed a paper published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology in March 2023. But the actual paper in my hand was dated September 2023. 6 months off. Could have been a typo, except Veronica didn't make typos. She was pathological about details. I set it aside and kept organizing. Then I found another discrepancy. A co-author listed on one of her research studies, Dr. Raymond C. from Johns Hopkins. The name seemed weird, too convenient. I pulled out my phone and searched. No Dr. Raymond C. at Johns Hopkins. Not in oncology, not in any department. My IP attorney brain started firing. In my world, fabricating credentials was career self-destroying. People went to prison for less. But surely Veronica wouldn't. I dug deeper. The consent forms for her landmark patient study, the one that had gotten her noticed by the oncology board, had signatures that looked identical. Not similar. Identical, like someone had traced them. I held 2 forms up to the window, overlapping them. Perfect match. Different dates, different patients. Same exact signature. My hands started shaking. Not from emotion, from adrenaline. The kind I got when I uncovered patent fraud at work. I photographed everything. Used my phone at first, then grabbed my Canon from the closet for higher resolution shots. Every page, every signature, every date. That didn't add up. 3 hours in, I found the patient charts. These were supposed to be in the hospital, not in our house. HIPAA violations alone could end her career. But that wasn't the worst part. The charts showed medication dosages that had been altered. Original numbers whited out, new ones written in. Lower doses that would make her experimental treatment look more effective by comparison. One patient, Mrs. Dorothy Huang, had received half her prescribed chemotherapy dose. According to the altered chart, half to make Veronica's alternative treatment seem like it was working better. I had to stop, went to the bathroom, and threw up. This wasn't just fraud. This was playing with people's lives. When I came back, I started creating a timeline. Every document got cataloged, cross-referenced. I built a database on my laptop, encrypted, password protected, backed up to 3 different cloud services under accounts Veronica didn't know existed. By late afternoon, I'd found plagiarized sections in her dissertation. Entire paragraphs lifted from obscure European journals, translated from German and Italian papers that most American reviewers wouldn't know. She'd been smart about it, but not smart enough to fool someone who spent his days tracking intellectual property theft. I was so deep in the documents that I didn't hear her come home. "What are you doing?" I looked up. Veronica stood in the doorway, still in scrubs, looking exhausted. I'd spread papers across the entire floor. My organization system turned into an investigation grid. "Organizing like you asked." I kept my voice steady. "You've got so much research here. It's impressive." She walked over, stepped carefully between the papers. "It's a mess. I'm sorry. I should have done this myself." "When you're never home," she sighed. That sigh she'd perfected. The one that said I was being unreasonable, expecting her presence. "I'm doing this for us, Grant. Once I'm established, things will calm down." "Right." She bent down, picked up one of the consent forms. My chest tightened, but she just glanced at it. Set it back down. "Lawson wants me to present the Morrison study next week," she said. "Think you could help me prepare my slides?" "Lawson?" "Dr. Philip Lawson, her mentor, the one whose hand lived on her lower back." "Sure," I said, "whatever you need." She smiled. That practice smile. Then her phone buzzed. She looked at it and her entire demeanor changed. Softer, warmer, an expression I hadn't seen directed at me in years. "I have to go back," she said. "Emergency surgery on a Saturday evening. Cancer doesn't take weekends off, Grant." She kissed my forehead, a nothing gesture like patting a dog, and left. I waited until I heard her car leave. Then I went to our bedroom and did something I'd never done before in 8 years of marriage. I checked her iPad. She'd left it charging on the nightstand. We knew each other's passcodes, or at least she knew my real one. I knew the one she thought I knew, but I'd seen her type the actual code weeks ago when she thought I was sleeping. Her messages synced across devices, and there they were. Hundreds of texts with Lawson. Not just texts, photos. Not the kind that ended marriages, though those existed, too. The kind that ended careers. Photos of patient files they were discussing. Strategies for adjusting data. Lawson teaching her how to bury adverse reactions in footnotes, how to cherry-pick trial participants, how to make negligible improvements look groundbreaking, and between the fraud tutorials, the personal messages. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Tell Grant, you're in surgery. After your divorce, we can be public. The department chair position will be perfect for us." Us? They had an us. I screenshot everything. Sent it all to my encrypted folders. The affair was painful. Yeah, but the fraud that was criminal. And Lawson wasn't just her lover. He was her accomplice. I found emails, too. Lawson had been covering for her mistakes for 2 years. A patient who died from complications, officially recorded as unrelated to treatment. Another whose cancer had accelerated after her experimental therapy, removed from the study entirely, like they'd never existed. And then I found the email that changed everything. It was from Veronica to Lawson, dated 3 weeks ago. "Once I get my white coat and the divorce is filed, we can move forward with the Henderson grant. Grant won't fight it. He's too passive. I've already consulted with an attorney. I'll take him for everything, and he'll probably apologize for inconveniencing me. By next year, I'll be established, funded, and free." She'd called me Grant in an email about our divorce, like I was just another grant to secure, another funding source to tap and discard. I kept digging, found out she'd been hiding money in accounts I didn't know about, gifts from Lawson, payments for consultations that never happened. She'd been building her exit strategy for over a year while I paid for everything. Supported everything, believed everything. By midnight, I had 60 gigabytes of evidence: fraud, affair, financial crimes, patient endangerment, enough to end her career 10 times over. But I didn't send it anywhere. Not yet. Because I'd also found her attorney's emails. She'd been planning the divorce for 6 months, timing it specifically for the day of her white coat ceremony. Maximum emotional impact. She wanted to destroy me at what she thought would be my proudest moment. The attorney had even coached her on how to cry effectively during the filing, how to make me look unstable if I reacted badly. They'd planned for every scenario except one, the possibility that I might find out first. I sat in my home office at 3 a.m., surrounded by evidence of fraud. Tomorrow, she'd present her biggest research paper. Tonight, I started recording everything. At 3 a.m., surrounded by evidence that could destroy my wife's career, I did what any good IP attorney would do. I started building an airtight case. First rule of intellectual property: litigation, documentation beats conversation every time. Second rule: always have backups of your backups. Third rule: never show your hand until you're ready to play it. I spent the rest of that night creating a systematic archive. Every document got scanned at 600 dpi resolution. Every email thread got exported as PDF with full metadata preserved. Every text message screenshot included timestamp verification. I wasn't just collecting evidence. I was creating an undeniable chain of custody that would hold up in any court or review board. By sunrise, I had 3 encrypted hard drives hidden in different locations. One in my office safe, one in a safety deposit box at a bank Veronica didn't know about, one with my attorney friend Donovan who specialized in medical malpractice. The next 3 weeks became a masterclass in living 2 lives. Every morning, I'd wake up next to Veronica, kiss her goodbye, tell her to have a good day at the hospital. She'd mumble something about rounds or surgeries, already checking her phone for messages from Lawson. I'd go to work, bill my hours, handle my cases. Normal Grant, supportive husband Grant. But I'd also open new bank accounts she didn't know about, moved 40% of my savings into a trust structure that would be untouchable in a divorce. Started documenting every asset, every purchase, every financial decision we'd made as a couple. Minnesota's equitable distribution laws were complex, but I knew them better than she knew anatomy. Donovan helped with the legal restructuring. We met at his office downtown, away from anywhere Veronica might accidentally see us. Jesus Christ. Grant, he said, reviewing the patient files. This is beyond malpractice. This is criminal. I know. You have to report this. I will, but it has to be done right. If I just dump this on the medical board, she'll know it was me. She'll spin it as a vindictive husband making false accusations. Donovan nodded. Anonymous complaint. Multiple anonymous complaints, different sources, different angles make it impossible to ignore or trace back. He leaned back in his chair. You're playing a dangerous game. She played it first. I'm just better at it. We spent 2 hours structuring the complaints. One would go to the medical board focusing on the fraudulent research. Another to the state health department about the patient endangerment, a third to the journal publishers about the plagiarism. Each complaint would reference different evidence, making it seem like multiple people had discovered different aspects of her fraud independently. What about Lawson? Donovan asked. He's the key to everything, but he's also smart. Been doing this longer than her. So, I need more. That's when I decided to get creative with technology. Veronica thought I was technologically inept. Could barely work the smart TV. She joked to her friends. But IP attorneys who can't handle technology don't last long. I've been doing digital forensics for years. I installed monitoring software on our shared devices. Nothing illegal. I had equal ownership and access rights. But it let me see everything. Every email she sent, every document she accessed, every website she visited. That's how I discovered the full scope of what they'd done. 17 patients, 17 people whose treatment had been compromised for her research. 3 had died. 5 had seen their cancer accelerate. The rest had suffered unnecessary side effects from altered medication protocols. One name kept appearing in the files. Dorothy Huang, the woman whose chemo dose had been halved. I did some research. Found her obituary from 6 months ago. Survived by a husband and 2 daughters. The obituary mentioned her brave fight against cancer and her participation in an experimental treatment program. Veronica had destroyed this woman. Maybe not directly, but through negligence and fraud, and she'd used her death to promote her research. I printed Dorothy Huang's obituary. Kept it in my wallet. Whenever I felt my resolve weakening, whenever Veronica would show a flash of the woman I'd married, I touched that folded paper. Remember why I was doing this? The monitoring software also revealed something unexpected. Veronica and Lawson were planning to submit their fraudulent research for the Henderson Grant, a $3 million funding opportunity. The application was due the week after her white coat ceremony. They've been falsifying additional data to strengthen their application. I screenshot their entire grant application. Every fabricated chart, every manipulated outcome, every forged signature. Then I found something even better. Emails between Lawson and the grant committee chair, Dr. Patricia Faulkner. Lawson had been promising her a cut of the grant money in exchange for favorable review. Corruption all the way up. Week 4 of my investigation, Veronica started getting suspicious. Not of me, she still thought I was oblivious, but she sensed something was off in her world. Someone's been accessing my research files, she said one evening over dinner I'd cooked while she texted Lawson from the hospital. I don't know. Maybe things are out of order. Documents moved. Probably just cleaning staff. I said. Cutting my steak. You're stressed about the presentation. She studied me. You've been different lately. Different how? Calmer. More accommodating. I smiled. Therapy. Finally decided you were right. I need to work on myself. You're seeing a therapist? Started 3 weeks ago. Dr. Morrison, want me to stop? No. No, that's good. Good for you. She went back to her phone satisfied. There was no Dr. Morrison, but she'd never check. She'd never cared enough about my life to verify anything I told her. That weekend, she said she had a conference in Rochester. I knew she was really spending it with Lawson at his lake house. The monitoring software had caught their planning. I used the time to finalize everything. I compiled the evidence into discrete packages. Created anonymous email accounts using VPNs and public Wi-Fi. Wrote each complaint in a different style, different tone, like different people had written them. Set them up with delayed sending. They'd go out the morning after her white coat ceremony. But I also did something else, something that would matter later. I reached out to an investigative journalist at the Minneapolis Tribune, Carolyn Voss, known for healthcare fraud exposés. I sent her a sample, just enough to get her interested. Told her to expect more after a major medical ceremony the following week. Gave her Dorothy Huang's name and suggested she talk to the family. Sunday night, Veronica came home from her conference glowing. She hummed while unpacking, something she hadn't done in years. Good conference? I asked. Transformative, she said. Really opened my eyes to new possibilities. That's wonderful. She walked over, put her hands on my shoulders. For a moment, I thought she might actually kiss me. Instead, she patted my cheek like I was a child. The white coat ceremony is Thursday, she said. My family will all be there. Try to dress appropriately. I know how to dress, Veronica. Your navy suit, not the gray one. It makes you look washed out. She went to shower. I heard her phone buzz on the dresser. A text from Lawson. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Usual time. I took a photo of the message on her screen. Added it to my collection. Then I texted back from her phone. Working late again tonight. Grant won't suspect anything. I deleted both messages before she got out of the shower. She'd think she'd missed his text. He'd think she'd confirmed their meeting. The confusion would be minor, but it would needle at them. Small disruptions in their perfect plan. Monday came. Tuesday. Wednesday. Each day, Veronica grew more excited about her ceremony. She practiced her speech in the mirror, adjusted her posture, perfected her smile. She had no idea that every word she rehearsed would soon be evidence against her. Wednesday night, she texted me from the hospital working late again tonight. I replied, take your time. I already knew she was at Lawson's apartment. The medical board would know soon, too. Thursday morning, the day of Veronica's white coat ceremony. I woke at 5 a.m., made coffee, and sat in my office reviewing everything one final time. The anonymous complaints were queued up in their delayed send folders. The medical board would receive theirs at 9 a.m. tomorrow. The health department at 9:30, the journal publishers at 10, Caroline Voss at the Tribune would get her full package at noon. I'd transferred the final chunks of my savings to protected accounts, changed the beneficiaries on my life insurance, updated my will. Every financial document that had Veronica's name on it had been legally modified to remove her or minimize her claim. She'd get the house and the divorce for now. But the second mortgage I discovered she'd taken out without telling me, the one she had used to fund her secret accounts, that would become her problem alone. The house was worth less than what she owed on it. My attorney had already prepared the quitclaim deed. I dressed in the navy suit like she'd instructed, fixed my tie, looked at myself in the mirror, and saw a man I didn't recognize. Not because I'd changed physically, because I'd stopped pretending to be someone I wasn't. Veronica emerged from the bedroom at 7, already in her dress clothes, the outfit she'd bought specifically for wearing under her white coat. She looked beautiful, objectively speaking, the way a snake might look beautiful before it strikes. Remember, she said, adjusting her earrings, my family will want to take pictures after. Try to smile naturally. I know how to smile, Veronica. Do you? Sometimes, I wonder. She grabbed her purse, her phone, her keys. Didn't kiss me goodbye. Hadn't in months. Just headed for the door. See you there, she called over her shoulder. After she left, I made one final preparation. I went to her home office and placed a single document on her desk. The email she'd sent Lawson about taking me for everything in the divorce, printed out, highlighted, with a sticky note attached that just said, I know. She wouldn't see it until after everything had already started falling apart. But when she did, she'd understand that every moment of her triumph had been witnessed by someone who knew exactly what she was. The auditorium was packed when I arrived. Veronica's family had saved seats in the third row. Her mother hugged me, telling me how proud we must be. Her father shook my hand with both of his, that earnest grip of a man who believed his daughter had married well. You've been so patient, her mother whispered, supporting her through all of this. She's lucky to have you. We're all here to support her, I said. Her sister, Monica, leaned over. Veronica said, you've been seeing a therapist. That's really mature of you. News traveled fast in the Clara family. Just trying to be a better person. She said, you've been much easier to live with lately. Easier. Like I was a household appliance that had finally been properly adjusted. The ceremony began. One by one, the new oncologists were called up. Each got their moment, their white coat, their applause. I watched Lawson in the front row with the other department heads. He kept checking his phone, glancing back toward where Veronica sat with the other recipients. When they called her name, Dr. Veronica Clara Reeves, the sound system seemed to amplify it beyond the other names. Or maybe that was just my perception, knowing what was coming. She walked across that stage like she owned it, like she'd earned every step through merit alone. The dean placed the white coat on her shoulders and she turned to face the audience. That smile, that perfect practice smile that had fooled everyone. Everyone except me. Her acceptance speech was flawless. She thanked her mentors, especially Dr. Lawson, for his guidance. She thanked her fellow residents for their collaboration, the nursing staff for their patience, her family for their unwavering support. This white coat represents not just achievement, she said, but responsibility. The responsibility to put our patients first, to never compromise on ethics, to hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity. I almost laughed, caught myself. Her mother squeezed my hand, mistaking my suppressed reaction for emotion. And of course, Veronica continued, I couldn't have done this without the sacrifices of so many people who believed in me. Still no mention of my name. 8 years of marriage, hundreds of thousands of dollars, countless nights alone, and I didn't merit a mention in her triumph. The ceremony ended with thunderous applause. Everyone stood. I stood too, clapping steadily, my face neutral, just another proud family member celebrating success. The reception was where she'd planned to do it. I knew from the emails I'd seen. She wanted witnesses. Wanted the drama of serving divorce papers surrounded by her colleagues and family, painting me as the unsupportive husband she'd finally found courage to leave. But I'd changed the game. As everyone filed into the reception hall, I intercepted Veronica by the entrance. We need to talk, I said privately. Now, Grant, this is my moment. It's important. 5 minutes. She rolled her eyes but followed me to the parking garage. Probably thought I was going to make some scene about her not thanking me. Give her the ammunition she wanted. We reached our cars. She turned to face me, impatient. Well, I pulled out my own envelope. These are for you. She took it, confused. Opened it. Her face went through several expressions as she read. Confusion. Shock. Then something else. Fear. What is this? Separation agreement. I've already moved my things out. The house is yours along with the mortgage you took out without telling me. Your secret accounts are documented here. I'm keeping what's mine. You're keeping what's yours, including your debt. How did you sign it? Veronica. This is ridiculous. You can't just, or we can do this the hard way. Your choice. She stared at me, really looked at me for the first time in years. You knew about the divorce papers. Among other things. Her hand went to her pocket, the envelope she'd brought. Her grand gesture ruined. How long have you known? Does it matter? She pulled out her envelope anyway. I want alimony. My attorney says, your attorney CC'd me on an email 6 weeks ago accidentally. I know exactly what he says. The color drained from her face. 6 weeks. Sign the separation agreement. Veronica, take the house. Take your debt, walk away clean. And if I don't, I smiled. Not my practice smile. My real one, the one she'd never actually seen before. Then things get complicated. She signed right there against the concrete pillar, her white coat bright under the parking garage fluorescence. Her hand shook slightly from anger. Probably she'd lost control of her own narrative. The courthouse is still open. I said we can file both sets of papers. Make it official. My family is here. The reception. Tell them I had an emergency at work. You're good at lying about where people are. She flinched. A small victory. We drove separately to the courthouse. Filed the papers. The clerk congratulated her on her white coat visible under her jacket. Veronica managed that perfect smile. Even then, we walked out divorced. Or at least the process had begun. You planned this, she said in the courthouse parking lot. You turned my own plan against me. I learned from the best. What else do you know? Go back to your reception, Veronica. Celebrate your achievement. I started walking to my car. Grant. Her voice cracked slightly. What did you mean by complicated? I turned back. Check your desk when you get home. And Veronica, you might want to start looking for a good attorney. Not for the divorce, for everything else. I left her standing there, white coat flapping in the wind, divorce papers in her hand. That evening, my phone buzzed with news alerts. The first domino had fallen early. Someone at the medical board had opened one of the anonymous complaints ahead of schedule. They'd started making calls, asking questions. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. The board has received your materials. Investigation begins Monday. I deleted the message and poured myself a scotch. Monday morning came faster than expected. I was in my office at Brennan & Associates by 7 a.m., reviewing a patent case when my personal phone started lighting up with notifications. The first call was from Monica, Veronica's sister. I let it go to voicemail. Grant, what the hell is happening? Veronica's been called into some emergency meeting at the hospital. She said, you'd know why. Call me back. The second was from Veronica's mother. Also, voicemail. Grant. Dear. There must be some misunderstanding. People are saying terrible things. Please call us. I turned my phone to silent and focused on my work. Had a deposition at 9. A client meeting at 11. Normal Monday activities for a senior partner who wasn't orchestrating his ex-wife's professional destruction. At 9:47 a.m., the Minneapolis Tribune website updated. Carolyn Voss's article went live. Prestigious hospital investigating potential research fraud and oncology department. No names yet, just sources familiar with the investigation and documents obtained by the Tribune. But the details were specific enough that anyone at the hospital would know exactly who was being investigated. By noon, my paralegal knocked on my door. "Mr. Reeves, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent." Lawson stood in my firm's marble lobby, looking like he'd aged 5 years since Thursday. His usual confident posture had crumpled into something desperate. "We need to talk," he said. I led him to a conference room, closed the door, didn't offer him coffee. "What did you do?" he asked. "I'm going to need you to be more specific." "The medical board, the investigation. They're asking about Veronica's research and you're here because don't play dumb, Grant. I know you're behind this." I leaned back in my chair. "Dr. Lawson, are you suggesting I falsified medical research, forged patient consent forms, altered medication dosages?" His jaw tightened. "You don't understand how research works, the pressure, the competition. Sometimes adjustments are necessary too." "To what?" "Destroy patients." "Nobody destroyed anyone." Dorothy Huang might disagree. If she were still alive. The name hit him like a physical blow. He actually stepped backward. "How do you know about I know about all 17 patients, Philip? Can I call you Philip since you've been sleeping with my wife for 2 years?" He sat down heavily. "Jesus, here's what's going to happen. I said you're going to tell the truth. All of it. Every falsified document, every altered dose, every patient harmed. That would destroy your career." "Yes, but it might keep you out of prison." "Might. Veronica won't. Veronica is no longer your concern or mine." He stared at me. This man who'd had his hands all over my wife, who'd helped her commit fraud, who'd planned to take my money and laugh about it. "She said you were weak," he whispered. "Said you'd roll over. Take whatever she gave you. She says a lot of things. Most of them aren't true. You should know that better than anyone." I stood up. "Meeting over. My advice." I said, "Get a lawyer. A good one. And Philip, if you try to contact me again, I'll add harassment to the list of charges I'm considering." He left without another word. By 2 p.m., the story had exploded. The medical board had issued a statement confirming an investigation into serious allegations of research misconduct. The hospital suspended Veronica pending review. Her face was all over medical Twitter. People who'd worked with her sharing stories, red flags they'd ignored. She called me 47 times that afternoon. Left 12 voicemails. I deleted them all unheard. Donovan texted me, "Turn on Channel 5. The evening news led with the story. They'd interviewed Dorothy Huang's husband. He stood outside the hospital holding a photo of his wife, tears streaming down his face. "She trusted them," he said. "We trusted them if they changed her treatment without telling us." The reporter asked if he planned to sue. His answer was perfect. "I just want the truth. My daughters deserve to know what really happened to their mother." Tuesday, the Journal started retracting Veronica's papers one by one, like dominoes. Each retraction triggered reviews of other papers, found more problems, triggered more retractions. Her entire body of work was collapsing. Wednesday, Lawson threw her under the bus. His attorney released a statement claiming Dr. Lawson had been manipulated by a subordinate and was cooperating fully with investigators. He painted himself as a victim of Veronica's ambition, claimed she'd falsified documents without his knowledge. The monitoring software I still had active showed me Veronica's reaction. She sent him 73 text messages in an hour, ranging from pleading to threats to incoherent rage. He never responded. Thursday, a week after her white coat ceremony, the medical board formally suspended her license pending investigation. Her mother called again. This time, I answered, "Grant, please. She's falling apart. The house, the investigation, everything. She needs help. She needs a lawyer. How can you be so cold? You loved her once." I loved who I thought she was. That person never existed. She made mistakes. She destroyed people. Mrs. Clara falsified research. Committed fraud. These aren't mistakes. They're crimes. Silence. Then quietly. "Did you know before the ceremony? Goodbye, Mrs. Clara." Friday, Veronica discovered the financial reality of her situation. The house she'd thought she'd won in the divorce came with the second mortgage she'd hidden from me. The payments she couldn't make without her hospital salary, the secret accounts Lawson had been feeding, were frozen by investigators. She was broke. Saturday morning, she showed up at my new apartment. I watched her through the doorbell camera, didn't answer. She stood there for an hour, occasionally pressing the button, occasionally crying. Eventually, security escorted her out. She'd lost weight. Her usually perfect hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore sweatpants and one of my old college hoodies she'd always said was too ratty to keep. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, nothing. Sunday, the news broke about Lawson's grant fraud. The FBI got involved. Federal charges were being considered. He'd implicated 3 other doctors, 2 administrators, and a member of the grant committee in his confession. But he'd also done something else. He'd provided investigators with emails showing Veronica had initiated much of the fraud, that she'd come up with the schemes, pressured him to participate. Some of it was true, some was him rewriting history, but the damage was done. The medical community turned on her completely. Former colleagues shared stories on social media about her ruthless ambition. Nurses talked about her treatment of staff. Patients came forward with complaints they'd been too intimidated to file before. Monday of week 2, her medical school announced they were reviewing her degree. The plagiarism in her dissertation was extensive enough to warrant potential revocation. I was reviewing the latest developments when my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Reeves, this is Amanda Douglas from the state prosecutor's office. We'd like to speak with you about your ex-wife's case. I'm listening. We believe you may have information relevant to our investigation. Would you be willing to come in? I'll bring my attorney. That won't be necessary. You're not under investigation. In fact, we believe you may have been a victim of fraud as well. Interesting angle. When? Tomorrow morning. We're particularly interested in any financial documents you might have. I'll be there. That evening, I drove past the house. Our house? Her house? The one she couldn't afford to keep. The lights were off except for one. Her office. I could see her silhouette at the desk, probably trying to salvage something from the wreckage of her career. I had a key still technically until the divorce was finalized and the property transferred. I was still part owner. I could have gone in, confronted her, had the dramatic scene she'd probably expected from the beginning. Instead, I drove to my storage unit. Pulled out one last box of our things I hadn't sorted through yet. Photos, mainly our wedding album, vacation pictures from before medical school consumed her. There was one photo from our 5th anniversary. We'd gone to Costa Rica. She was laughing at something, caught mid-moment, genuine joy on her face, before the ambition, before Lawson, before she decided I was just another resource to be consumed and discarded. I looked at that photo for a long time. Then I put it back in the box, sealed it up, and left it in storage. Tomorrow, I'd talk to the prosecutors, give them everything they needed, help them build a case that would ensure Veronica faced justice for what she'd done to those patients. But tonight, I had one more thing to do. I drove back to the house, used my key. She was still in her office, door closed, on the phone with someone, crying, begging, probably her latest attorney. I stood in the empty house one last time. Her white coat still hung in the closet. The only thing she hadn't taken. I left it there, a monument to ambition built on lies. I left the house that night without saying a word to Veronica. She never knew I'd been there, just another ghost in her collapsing world. The meeting with the prosecutors went exactly as expected. They had most of what they needed, but my documentation filled in the gaps. Financial records showing how she'd hidden assets. Emails proving premeditation. The timeline I'd constructed that showed pattern and practice, not isolated incidents. This is exceptionally thorough, Amanda Douglas said, reviewing my files. You should have been a prosecutor. I just pay attention to details. She looked at me over her reading glasses. Most people don't document their spouse's crimes with this level of precision. Most people don't discover their spouse destroyed patients for career advancement. The criminal case took 8 months to build. During that time, I relocated to Denver. Got a position with a boutique IP firm that specialized in medical technology patents. Funny how my experience with medical fraud made me valuable in protecting legitimate medical innovations. I bought a condo downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, mountain views. Nothing like the suburban house I'd shared with Veronica. This was mine. Only mine. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified via video link. Calm, factual, devastating. Veronica's attorney tried to paint me as a vindictive ex-husband, but the evidence was overwhelming. 17 patients, 3 deaths, millions in fraudulent grant applications. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge gave her 6 years. Could have been 20, but she cut a deal. Testified against Lawson and the others. Lawson got 12 years. The grant committee chair got 8. The whole network collapsed. Her medical license was formally revoked the day after sentencing. Her medical school revoked her degree a week later. 8 years of education erased. Hundreds of thousands in debt for credentials that no longer existed. That was 11 months ago. This morning, I got a call from my assistant. Mr. Reeves, there's a certified letter here for you forwarded from your old address. Send it back without opening it. Return to sender. No longer at this address. I knew it was from Veronica, probably written from federal prison where she was serving her sentence. I had no interest in her apologies, explanations, or accusations. That chapter was closed. After work, I met Diane for coffee. We'd met at a conference 6 months ago. She was a bioethicist of all things. Spent her days making sure medical research actually helped people instead of hurting them. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. "How was your day?" she asked. "Productive. Filed 2 new patents. Had lunch with a client. Normal Tuesday." She smiled. That genuine smile that reminded me expressions could be real, not just practiced in mirrors. "Still planning to visit your friend this weekend?" "Donovan?" "Yeah, he's handling something for me in Minneapolis." What I didn't tell her, what I hadn't told anyone, was what Donovan was actually handling. A donation anonymous large enough to fund a patient advocacy clinic at Veronica's former hospital for the next 20 years. The clinic would provide free legal services to patients who suspected medical malpractice or research fraud. It would investigate complaints, hold doctors accountable. There was just one condition in the donation agreement. One small requirement buried in page 47 of the contract. The clinic had to maintain a memorial wall. Small brass plaques with the names of patients who died due to medical misconduct. Dorothy Huang's name would be the first. The other 2 who died from Veronica's fraud would follow. Every doctor who walked past that wall would see those names. Remember that patients were people, not data points. That ambition without ethics was murder with a medical degree. "You're thinking about something," Diane said. "Just work." "Liar." I smiled. "Okay. Thinking about the Denver Museum exhibit you wanted to see this weekend." "Better liar." We laughed. Easy. Comfortable. No hidden agendas or secret accounts. She knew my history. All of it. Had read the news stories, seen the trial coverage. She'd asked me once if I regretted how I'd handled it. No. I'd said I regret not seeing it sooner. Must be hard loving someone who turned out to be someone else. I don't think I ever loved her. I loved the idea of her, the image she projected, but the real person, the one who destroyed Dorothy Huang, I never knew that person at all. That evening after Diane left for her book club, I got another call. This one from a number I recognized. Harrison Webb, one of Veronica's former colleagues. "Grant, it's Harrison. I'm in Denver for a conference. Wondered if you might want to grab a drink." We met at a bar downtown. Harrison looked older, tired. The scandal had touched everyone in the oncology department. "I wanted to thank you," he said after ordering whiskey. "For what?" "For stopping her. We all knew something was off. The results too good. The data too clean. But nobody wanted to be the one to speak up. So you let patients die instead?" He flinched. "That's fair. We were cowards." "Yes, you were." We drank in silence for a moment. "The clinic," he said eventually. "The patient advocacy clinic. That was you, wasn't it?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "The donation was anonymous. But the timing, the structure, it had to be you." I said nothing. "It's a good thing," he continued. "Dorothy Huang's family. They were so grateful when they heard about the memorial. Said it meant everything to know she'd be remembered." "How's the hospital handling it?" "It's changed everything. Nobody falsifies data anymore, too scared of ending up on that wall. The clinic investigates everything, even minor complaints. It's like having a conscience forced on us." "Good." He finished his drink. "She was brilliant. You know, Veronica could have been great without the fraud, but she chose fraud." "Yeah, she did." Harrison left. I stayed watching the city lights reflect off the windows. My phone buzzed. Diane texting about weekend plans. Normal life things. Clean. Honest things. A year ago, I'd sat in that auditorium watching Veronica get her white coat. Watching her lie to everyone about integrity and ethics, signing divorce papers in a courthouse parking lot while she wore that symbol of trust she'd violated. Now she wore federal prison gray. Lawson, too. The others who'd helped them had scattered, careers destroyed, reputations in ruins. And somewhere in Minneapolis, in a hospital I'd never visit again, there was a clinic with Dorothy Huang's name on the wall. A permanent reminder that patients were people. That fraud had consequences. That someone was always watching. I'd won. Not through drama or scenes or emotional confrontation. Through patience, precision, documentation. The same skills that made me good at IP law made me devastating at revenge. But the real victory wasn't her destruction. It was this. Sitting in a bar in a new city, building a new life with someone honest, knowing that 17 patients had justice, that future patients were protected, that Dorothy Huang's daughters could visit a memorial that acknowledged their mother's life had value beyond being a data point in a fraudulent study. I paid my tab, went home to my condo with its mountain views and clean lines and no ghosts. Tomorrow I'd work on patents that actually helped people. Have lunch with Diane. Maybe book that museum visit. The past was sealed in federal court documents and prison sentences. The future was mine to build. My phone buzzed one more time. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then recognized the area code. Minnesota Department of Corrections. A text. This is a prepaid message from a federal inmate. Veronica Clara, inmate number 47832, has requested to add you to her approved contact list. Reply yes to accept or no to decline. I deleted the message without responding. Then I blocked the number. They gave her a white coat. I gave her the truth. Only one of those lasted. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.